Sorry, I'm trying to get my cat. Come here, Eddie. He lays with me. He's a good boy and he doesn't make ruckus all night while I'm on my live. Oh, I gotta, looks like a dog hair. Sorry, I'm trying to put my lotion on. It's the only time I sit still. Hello, hello. Oh, my glasses are dirty. Hello, hello. Just see if I can. Sorry guys, my glasses are, yeah, really bad. If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. Hello, hello. Just gotta clean my glasses. They're terrible. I don't realize how bad they, oh my God, I just made them worse. Hold on. If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. I can't quite see it yet, but give me 1 second. Hello, hello. If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. Hello. Nobody's gonna talk to me? Nobody? Hey, Jen. Oh, man, somebody's talking about me big and bad all of a sudden. My nose has been itching for like the last minute. Sorry, my glasses are dirty and something now is on my eyelid, so it's bugging me. Thanks for the badge, Jen. If you're just hopping on, tell us who you are, where you're from. Thanks for the hearts. Let's see if I can see out of these things now. Well, still better than it was anyway. Hello. What's your name? Is it Blue Angel? Do you have a name and where you're from? Thank you for sharing the live. I appreciate that. Tara, is it Tara? Mississippi. Welcome. Sorry guys, I already did my lotion. I've got to, my lips are, you can tell we're getting into fall. My hands are chapped. My lips are starting to chap. It's like, just like it's cooler, you can tell. Come here, Itty Bitty. I've been trying to get my cat to come in here so he'll not make noise. Usually if I can get him to sleep. Aw, hold on, I missed that. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Aw, thank you. I appreciate that so much. If you're just hopping on, tell us who you are, where you're from. Aw, you're so sweet. Come here, Itty Bitty. Trying to get my cat to come lay with me, then he's not roaring around when I'm doing my live, but he's not coming. He does that because my female cat hides in the cupboard and he's like calling her. From Pennsylvania, do you have a name? And thank you for the badge, I appreciate that. If you're just hopping on, tell us who you are, where you're from. Hello, hello. Aw, is that a kitty? Aw, that is a kitty, right? Thank you. Appreciate that. Aw, you're so nice. Okay, guys, well, we're already almost 5 minutes in, so I guess we'll just let it see where we're gonna go here, and I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So if you're new here, tell us who you are, where you're from. My name is Renee. I'm from South Dakota if you're new here. I started my TikTok in March of 2024. Sorry, I feel like I have a cat here or something. In March of 2024, for TikTok purposes, I can't talk tonight. I am so tired. I apologize. So I started it in March of 2024 because in September of 2023, for TikTok purposes, my husband unalived himself. And that's when I discovered that I had abilities to talk to my spirit guides. And they basically slowly breadcrumb me to my purpose, which is to help other people through their loss and trauma and to uplift others. And so that's why I'm here. I only have 2 rules on my page if you're new here. The first one is I just always ask that you be kind. And the second one is we talk absolutely no politics here. There's a million other pages out there for that. My page just isn't one of them. And I always like to say I am on my journey of life where I am, and you are on your journey of life where you are, and none of us are going to agree on everything. So we agree to disagree here. We do talk about sensitive content, so if you don't like that, just hop off and keep scrolling. Please don't report me. Usually I get a topic from my guides before I go live. Tonight our topic is embracing who you are. And I talked about this a little bit ago, but tonight is a little bit different. It hit me differently today. So I was at work and I was listening to a video, and the person said, when are you going to embrace what you are instead of what you're not? Right? How many times in our life have, we're always thinking about embracing all the things that you're not instead of embracing all of the good things that you are, right? We're all guilty of that. So my guide said, when are you going to look at what you are and all the good that you have? Changing that perspective of, instead of always going towards the negative of all, and putting yourself down for all the things that you're not, instead of looking at all the good qualities that you have. Aw, thank you. Aw, thank you for the heart. I appreciate that. And all the likes too, guys. I appreciate it. So we all have amazing traits and qualities, right? I always like to say, if you're new here, I'm the circle that don't fit in the square, right? And so my whole life I thought I was broken. Growing up, I just thought I was broken. I'm like, right, I don't fit in, I'm weird, I'm quirky, I'm unique, whatever that word of the decade or the whatever, of the year was at that time, right? And I always thought that was a bad thing, right? So when I got into my adult life, people have told me, well, you're unique, right? Sorry. And I thought, well, that's not a good thing, because, when I was younger, it wasn't a good thing. I didn't take that as a good thing because, well, you're unique or you're weird, right? And then the older I got, and then I started going through this journey of figuring out, after my husband passed, of who was I, because I didn't know who I was. I got married when I was 18 years old. I met my husband at 16. I didn't know who I was. I didn't love myself. How can you love yourself when you don't know who you are, right? I thought I was broken, the weird, unique, quirky girl, And then my husband passed away, and I started learning to, I did my shadow work, discovering, why I felt this way about myself. Went through all the work of figuring out who was I, and learning to love myself. And then realizing that I wasn't broken at all, right? I was just me, right? And I never embraced that me, because the world tells us to look at all the things that I'm not, right? And so instead of saying all the things that you're not, when are we going to embrace all the things that we are and start talking about all the good things that we are? Hold on one second. Abigail is, hold on a second. Go Blue 555. Abigail is my grandma trying to come through. What sign should I look for? Well, generally they'll send you angel numbers. Sometimes birds, feathers, coins. She can send you a sign, and you can ask her to send you a specific sign also. You know, if there was something that you liked, sometimes you might smell her perfume. So there's all kinds of different signs, but you can ask for specific signs sometimes too. Okay, so back at it. So like I said, we always list all of the things we're not. So when do we start saying, okay, these are the things that I am, right? And changing that perspective. What does it look like? And how can you grow using your character traits that you have already, right? Hold on, sorry, I'm missing the chat. You're so very welcome. If you're just hopping on, tell us who you are, where you're from. If you're not familiar, my name is Renee. I'm from South Dakota. Welcome. And if you come back on Wednesday, we're going to do, I'm going to start doing mini reads on Wednesdays. If you would be interested in that. And Go Blue, did you have a name and where you're from? So like I said, what does it look like to embrace our character traits that we do have? The good ones, right? Thank you for the badge. Is it Keats? You're from Florida? Welcome. Keats, is that your name? And where you're from? So when I was looking up character traits, right, I got calm, silly, thoughtful, you know, talents as a character trait. You have lots of talents, right? So how can we use those to grow as people and to, you know, grow as help ourselves grow as people, but also maybe using it in a positive way to help other people? Anybody gonna talk to me tonight? Am I just that boring? By the way, we're not shy here. My community is your community. Pipe in anytime. If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. Hello, hello. Am I missing any comments, Jen? Indiana. Indiana, do you have a name? Thanks for the likes, Jen. You're listening? Okay, okay. Just making sure. So one of the things that I came up with, so if you're a calm person, right? How can you use being calm to grow as a person or to help other people? Maybe you're silly. I know I'm a silly person at times, mostly when I'm tired. So if you're silly, you know, maybe you make people laugh. You know, maybe somebody's having a bad day, so you can use that character trait as, you know, a way to brighten somebody's day. You know, they're having a rough time or a rough day, right? Maybe you're a thoughtful person. So what would be something as a thoughtful person that you could do to help yourself or others, right? So if you notice, I'm saying to help yourself and others, right? Because I truly believe that we are given our gifts, our character traits, not only to help us grow, but to help others as well. Listen to better understand others, right? And that's the key. And I have to admit, I've been very guilty over my lifetime of listening to respond instead of listening to understand. There's a difference, right? Listening, waiting to respond versus listening to understand. And that's a hard one for me. I admit it, you know? And that's a thing right there, you know, just being able to admit, you know, like I said, you don't want to bring out the negative, but at being able to also admit, okay, this is something that I struggle with. How can I flip that around and grow from that and make it better and become better, right? If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. Let's see. Patience. That was one that I got. Patience. My guys have been trying to teach me patience for over 3 years. Actually, probably my whole life. Patience is not my virtue, I always say, but I'm trying very hard. for me, patience of just living in the moment, right? Enjoying the journey. I was just telling a friend today that that's my new thing, is because I'm always, I there for the longest time caught myself trying to live in the past, then living in the future, and realizing actually all we actually have is right now in the present. And realizing that right now in the present, even if you're going through something, is part of the journey, right? And so trying to be patient, have faith that everything's going to work out how I know that it's going to, and just, patiently enjoying my journey and being present. Same? Patience? Yeah, that's a hard one. And here's the thing that I'm learning, right? So like when we ask, and I don't say God, I believe in a creator. I've been down a million rabbit holes, so I just don't say God, because which one are you referring to? But I believe, God, source, universe, divine, whatever it is that you say, right? If you ask for patience, right? Say, oh, please God, give me patience, creator, divine, whatever, right? Give me patience. You do realize that God, or whatever you call it, doesn't just give you patience. They will give you circumstances to gain patience, right? So that's the tough one. That's the tough one for me, because I've realized that over the years, that if I'm asking for something like that, I'm going to get a situation to give me patience. He's not just going to go, okay, here's your patience, right? Thanks for the follow. Is it Keats? Do you have a name? And did you tell me where you were from? Sorry. Thank you for the rose. I appreciate that. So let's see. And then last, my guide said, being grateful for where we are is always the key in life, right? Being grateful for what we have and where we are is that key. So how can you use that key to unlock your happiness and living your most positive life? And like I said, it all ties together. Embracing who you are, being grateful for who you are, what you have, and always having that perspective of everything. Oklahoma, glad to have you here. Having that perspective of embracing who it is that you are, right? All of those good qualities that you have, because we all have good qualities, right? We just always like to look at the bad. Good evening. I am well, Veronica. How are you? Okay, so, and that's pretty much everything she gave me, guys. Sorry, she didn't give me a whole lot tonight. Does anybody have any thoughts on that? Anybody gonna talk to me tonight, or we're just gonna be a quiet bunch? Anybody? Okay. Has anybody experienced a loss or struggling with anything this week? I know it's a new week. Anybody got anything? Because that's what we do talk about here too. If you're lonely, you got something you got to get off your chest, or you're just here to meet people. Wow, really quiet bunch tonight. Well, thank you for all the likes, guys. I appreciate you. And thank you for listening. I appreciate it so much. While I'm waiting to see if anybody's going to talk to me. If you're not familiar, I do have a YouTube channel also. I go by Scorpio Medium. And so if you're not a subscriber over there, I would love it if you went over there and subscribed. You'll find all my videos that I upload here over there. The only difference is if you miss a live and you'd like to catch that, I upload those over there on Scorpio Medium. If you didn't catch that, I am a medium. I'm actually a psychic medium. If you would like a reading, you can go down into my bio down below and find my email, and you can set up a reading that way. We started a couple weeks ago going 7:30. I think I'm going to stick with that through this week anyway, see how that goes. So I'm here Sunday through Wednesday at 7:30. Usually it was like 2 minutes late tonight, 2 minutes early I think last night. 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time, you'll find me here most of the time. I try to be consistent. Sometimes, you know, things happen in life where I just can't get on. And if you missed it earlier, I'm going to try to start doing on Wednesdays. I'm going to call them Mini Read Wednesdays. Last night, if you missed it, my guide sprung on me that I was going to do readings. I had never done readings live ever, or in front of anyone for that matter, other than my friend Jen. And so I'm going to start doing those on Wednesday nights. So yeah, look out for those on Wednesdays. And then last but not least, if you look in my bio, I also have a Venmo. If you would like to leave me a tip or donate to my channel, you can do that down there. That's where you'll find that. Does anybody have anything else they would like to add or talk about tonight? Anybody? Hey, Julie. It went really, really quick and everybody's really, really quiet tonight. How are you? How was your day? How was your Monday? How was everybody's Monday? Mine wasn't too terrible, other than I'm just tired. I didn't sleep well last night. That's okay, you're late and we're pretty much finishing. It went really quick tonight, what I had. We were talking about when are you going to start embracing what you have instead of what you don't have, as far as, right? We're always talking about, sorry, my brain is just not working well tonight, guys. Looking at what you are instead of what you're not, right? Thank you for the badge. I appreciate that and all the likes. You know, we always think, well, you know, and here was something else too that I know she gave me and I must have missed that. If you're pointing out the qualities or character traits or whatever it is that you think that you don't have, is there a way to go, okay, I don't have those. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Aw. What is a way that you can go about growing and learning how to become some of those things so you can put it over here in the positive pile of the things that you are instead of the things that you're not, right? And use it to grow as a person. Manifesting the positive. Yes, I love manifesting. One of my manifestation signs right here. I have them all over my doorways. You can ask Jen. And they're all over my mirror, all over my doors, all over my cupboards, the kitchen, right? Thanks for the badge, Jen. I appreciate that. So taking that, you know, like I said, taking that negative of, okay, well, I'm not this, and going, okay, well, maybe I want to be that. So how can I become that? Flipping the script and putting that, like I said, into the positive category of what you are. Okay, anybody have anything else? You're so quiet. Thanks for the likes, Julie. Okay, well, since nobody is going to talk, everybody's just listening tonight. That's pretty much all I have. So let's see. So today's Monday, so I'll be back here tomorrow night at 7:30-ish. Tonight was 2 minutes late, Julie, but I think I was on here a minute or two early last night. So, you know, just making up the difference. So yeah, I'll be back here. Thank you for the likes. Like I said, I appreciate all the love, all the likes, all the hearts, all the gifts. I appreciate you all so very much. I'll be back tomorrow night at 7:30. And remember, I can't talk or think tonight. With everything you said, learning to show up authentically and not who we are not. Yes. And you'll notice I get on here, you know, and I could sit here and go, well, you know, sometimes I flubber and sometimes I, you know, Julie loves it when I'm like squirrel, because I can squirrel, right? You know, and I could get on here and pretend to be perfectly loves it when I'm like squirrel, because I can squirrel, right? You know, and I could get on here and pretend to be perfect and, you know, I'm not. You know, when my guides told me that you're going to get online and you're going to help people, you know, I said I'm just going to be authentically me. Some nights you get, you know, dirty hair, don't care. You know, you get the bun. Some nights you get makeup. Sometimes you don't. You know, I'm just me. I get on here and I flubber and, you know, and I squirrel, but I'm human. you know, and there again, I embrace those things as a positive thing, right? Because I'm human. We're all human. And so, you know, I embrace all of those things, you know, and I use them as a positive, not as the negative, right? I could use that as an excuse not to get on here. Sometimes laughing, sometimes crying, exactly. For sure, you know? And so just learning to embrace that uniqueness in yourself, you know, your quirkiness, your weirdness, whatever it is, right? First of all, who says it's weird? Because the world tells you you're weird, you know, source, God, divine, universe, whatever it is you call it, made you that way for a reason. So just because the world tells you that you're unique or weird or whatever it may be, you know, I embrace it, you know, because it's part of who you are. And you are that way for a reason, you know. And the thing is if we can use that to help other people, you know, and help other people also realize, you know, you're not broken. You are this way for a reason, and it's okay. It's okay. And it's okay to love yourself and like I said, put those into the positive category, not the, well, I can't do this because I'm that, right? So, okay guys, well, if nobody else has anything else, going once, going twice. Thank you for all the love. I appreciate y'all so much for sticking around. Embrace my weirdness, my imperfectness, because I'm perfectly imperfect. Exactly. You're perfectly imperfect. And so that goes into the positive category instead of, like I said, you're not looking at it as a negative, right? And there again, that's, you know, something in the last 2 years since my husband passed is, you know, changing that perspective, right? Sometimes we just need a perspective change. You know, like you said, embracing that you're imperfect, you know, instead of, there again, using that as a negative and maybe why you can't do something. You know, because I'm very much an A personality. I would love to get on here and, you know, have everything right and say everything right and, you know, but like I said, that's just not who I am. Even though I'm an A personality and I would love to do that, I'm human. You know, I'm tired. I go through life struggles and challenges like everybody else, you know. And so, like Julie said, you know, maybe I'm going to get on and I'm emotional, or, you know, my guides want me to share something and I'm emotional about it. You know, we laugh, we cry, but we do it together and we embrace it. Yeah, I did Mary Kay for 12 years when my kids were growing up. And my Mary Kay director always said, what you talk about is what you bring about, right? So, you know, you speak the negative, you're going to get the negative. You know, you speak the positive is going to come back. You know, and I'm a firm believer now more than ever is, you know, what you put out into the universe. You know, if you're constantly grumbling and telling the universe what you're not, you know, then the universe just keeps giving you more of what you're not. You know, instead of speaking what you are and what you want to be and putting that out there, then that's what the universe is going to send back to you. You know? So, for sure. Thank you for the likes. I appreciate that. Okay, guys, anybody else? If you're just hopping on, tell us who you are, where you're from. My name is Renee. I'm from South Dakota. I mean, I have nowhere to be, so if you guys want to chat, we can chat. I mean, I have nowhere to be, so if you guys want to chat, we can chat. Yes, and I'm noticing when other people are doing that, speaking negative. Yes, because the more positive you become, the more those people, it's like, they're like highlighted and you're like, you know, and then we start to kind of become where it's like, ugh, you know, you kind of don't want to be around that anymore after you learn to be the positive, right? Hi. Is it Elisa? Kelly from Pennsylvania, welcome. Glad to have you here. I can't talk at all tonight. You stop listening to them. Well, yeah, you kind of, you know, that I always like to say, that when we were growing up and you watched, that I always like to say, that when we were growing up and you watched Charlie Brown, right? And the teacher was like, wah, 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 right? And that's kind of how it's become now when people are just like, you're around people like that and it's just like, all I hear is wah, 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 wah. And it's like, how about instead of talking awful things how about you point out something that you are good and find the good, and be grateful. When I started this journey 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, I have to admit, it was hard. I was really struggling to find something to be grateful for, right? My guides just kept saying, you have to find something to be grateful for. And I'm going to tell you what, right? My whole world crumbled. 32 years just gone, and challenging them, exactly, learning, and that's what I told you. It was like a week ago. I'm learning how to wrangle those thoughts when they do come now, and they don't stick around as long if they do come, right? And like Jen and I have been talking about, that's the old story, right? Sometimes the old story will still creep in to keep you stuck, right? Because your ego doesn't want you to be better, right? So that old story will come in, and that's when you have to learn how to challenge those thoughts and go, no, wait a minute, no, that's the old story. The new story is da 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 da, right? Yeah, and don't commiserate with them. Exact. I know what you said, Jen. I know what you meant, right? For sure. But, I was really struggling, and I'll admit it. I'll be the first one to admit, especially when I, do something wrong, but I was really struggling to be grateful, and I was journaling to get through the loss of my husband, and, journaling to get through the loss of my husband, and, I really had to stop and think about things. Okay, maybe I would only have one thing to be grateful for because, they took my life. My life was gone. It imploded, everything, except for my kids and my friend Jen, And so that's when it was like, at that time, it was just like, I'm grateful for my kids. I'm grateful for my apartment. I'm grateful for, all those things that I'm grateful for. But it was a struggle in the beginning. But what I'm learning is every day, the more I put out into the universe what I'm grateful for, the more the universe gives me back some more to be grateful for, right? And it is hard. Jen and I have these talks all the time where, sometimes life just lifes, and it is a struggle, and, you can sit and look at all the things that are going wrong, and I guess I just finally come to the conclusion where it's like, no, I'm just going to focus on today. What am I grateful for today, right? I'm not going to think about in 2 weeks that I'm going to be short to pay whatever it may be, right? I'm just going to focus on today. I'm going to be grateful. I'm going to put that grateful out here. I'm going to enjoy my journey, which is today, no matter what I'm going through, good, bad, or indifferent. And because here's the thing, we're stressing about something in 2 weeks. Maybe 2 weeks I can't pay my rent. Well, 2 weeks ain't here yet. And as my grandma always said, where there's a will, there's a way. And just enjoy the journey. I'm grateful for all the struggles, even the painful things, because it's made me who I am. Oh, for sure. Oh, I didn't even see those hearts. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Sorry about that. I must have looked away right as you sent those. And that's just it, right? And, it took me a year and a half, maybe not quite that long, for my guides to point out to me that, when my husband passed and my whole world of 32 years crumbled, it's easy to sit there and go, why is this happening to me? Right? Even 3 weeks ago, I met this most amazing man and finally was happy, the happiest I've been in 2 years. And I had him for 4 days. 4 days, and in the beginning it was like, why is this happening to me again, right? And then, I realized that that was the best 4 days in 2 years that I've had. I was so happy, right? and like my friend Julie on here was asking me, she's like, Renee, would you give up those 4 days? Never, never, ever, ever. Even that my heart was broken again, I would never give up those 4 days, because like I said, they were the best 4 days I've had in 2 years, you know, the happiest I've been in a long, long time. And, you know, what we go through, like Julie said, it shapes who we are, you know. And my guides pointed out to me, I had to go through everything I went through in my life, exactly how I went through it, in order to be here right now, on here with you people, because this is my purpose in life. And had I not went through the things that I went through and exactly how I went through them, I wouldn't be sitting here. And this is my purpose, right? Anyway, I'm just rambling now. Sorry, my cat hides in the cupboard from the other cats. If you hear the door banging, that's what's happening. They're fighting over the door, it sounds like. Aw, thank you for the heart, Kelly. I appreciate that. Okay, does anybody else have anything else they want to add or anything? I'm going to move my tripod, guys. It feels like it's like a million miles away here. Anybody? Okay, well, if nobody else has anything else. Yeah, I mean, that's just who I am, right? I'm 100% transparent. There's no point in, I mean, I just don't see the point of sitting on here and being somebody that I'm not. You know, I mean, I very well could do that, but I'm not going to. How did I realize I had a gift? Sharing, not rambling. Okay, sorry. When my husband passed, I had to find a way to heal myself, because I was the unique girl. My husband didn't leave me in a great spot financially. And so therapy was out. Group therapy wasn't going to work, I didn't think either, because I'm, you know, the unique girl, the circle that don't fit in the square. And so I'm like, okay, I have to figure out how I'm going to heal myself through this. And so I started doing meditation, and I was kind of dabbling in meditation before my husband died, but I really sucked at it. And I just really deep dived into meditation and journaling. And when I started doing really meditating, I started getting messages and meditation. The first message I ever got was, what heals you will heal others. And that kind of is what led me to, like I said, at first I learned that and I was hearing things before my husband passed. And I was having visions and all kinds of things, but I just didn't know what was happening to me. And then the puzzle pieces started coming together more after that. And like I said, at first it was just, hearing from my spirit guides. And then it was several months later. So this was like in October, and I really didn't realize that I actually I was like a medium, talk to other people that had crossed over until probably like February. And then that's when it was like, oh wow, I can actually hear people from the other side, right? Now, when I was preteen, I used to have dreams that would come true, and then they just kind of stopped. Anybody else? Did I answer your question, Kelly? I hope so. But just know too, Kelly, we all have abilities. The world has just hidden that from us, right? That's why they don't want you to go within, because you learn, basically everything you need to know is within you, right? And the world teaches you everything you need to know is outside of you. And it's really not. It's all within you, right? And actually that's what Jesus, even though his name isn't Jesus. So every time people refer to Jesus, sorry, I've been down many rabbit holes. His name is actually Yeshua. And he actually taught that in the book of Thomas, which they actually pulled out of the Bible. And the reason they did is, to control what they wanted you to believe. But he actually talked about manifestation. And that's what he actually taught. His actual true teachings was about manifestation and going within and teaching you how the kingdom is within you. They do leave some truths in the Bible. The kingdom is within you. It says it right there in their own Bible, right? So, anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, if I even finished that thought. But yeah, so we all have abilities. We actually all have telepathy. So they keep us, like I said, the world tells you, meditation, yoga, whatever, it's all bad, right? They have to tell you, oh, it's bad. Being a medium is bad. No, it's only bad if you're using it for bad. What I like to talk about too is like right here, right? These are what you would call tarot cards, right? They're just cards. They're just cards, right? People are afraid of these, right? Oh, they're bad because why? Because the world told you they were bad, because the church told you bad, religion taught you that they were bad. Well, if I'm holding these tarot cards in one hand and I have a spoon in the other, right? A spoon can make me obese. Sorry, somebody is trying to. A spoon can make me obese, right? A spoon can be bad, right? Because it can make me obese. I can overeat with a spoon. It's no different. These are just cards. It's how you're using them, right? You can use them for good to help people. Like last night, I like to think that I helped give some people closure last night when I did the mini reads. I believe that my talent is from the divine. I believe all of our talents is from the divine. And we can use them in this life for good, or you can use it for bad. But like I said, you can use anything for bad, right? You can take a knitting needle and stab somebody. You can use it for good and make a baby blanket for a baby shower, or you can stab somebody, right? It's all a matter of perspective. Anyway, I better watch what I say or they're going to kick me off. But we all do have abilities. They're there. They're just dormant in you. And the biggest thing is getting this, because you have a third eye here. That's what people don't realize, is you have a third eye, but your third eye's been fluorided to death. That's why they tell you fluoride is good, right? Because what happens is the fluoride calcifies that third eye. And what people don't understand is the third eye is our connection to source, to God, to spirit. That's our connection. Well, they don't want you to have that connection, right? They don't want you to have that connection to the divine, to God, source, universe, whatever it is that you believe or say, right? And so they've been fluoriding our third eye for years and years and years, telling you, oh, it's great, drink water with fluoride in it, it's great. But yet the tube of toothpaste with fluoride in it says do not swallow, right? So it's a matter of that opening up that third eye, right? And also being open to it. There's ways to ask, your guides. If you want to hear from them, you just talk to them. Talk to them like they're your best friend, and tell them you want to hear them, right? And learning how to quiet your mind so you can hear them versus you. Right? And then eventually you learn how to distinguish between, okay, was that me or was that them? Hopefully I answered that. Anybody else? All right, guys. Well, nobody? Well, I appreciate all of the love, everybody, all the hearts. That's awesome. That's amazing. Eddie, hey! Thank you so much for your message earlier. I appreciate that. It's good to know. So if anybody is on here that had a mini read last night and you did get some confirmation or some closure, I would love to hear from you, I would love to hear comments from you or messages, anything like that. But I can definitely tell you that, he might have been in this world, in this matrix, he might have been your stepdad, but he was your dad, and you were definitely his son. For sure. Okay, guys, anybody else? Those are just titles. That's the thing is, my husband had a daughter when we got married, and I always say she's my bonus daughter, right? I don't like the word step. It just, I don't know. Okay, guys. Anybody? Going once? Going twice? Alrighty. Thank you all for the love. I appreciate you so very much because without you I wouldn't have a channel. I will be back here tomorrow night at 7:30. Remember to make tomorrow great because it is a choice. And on that note, I'm going to say until we meet again.